You know, it makes me think about the washing of someone's feet. You know what I mean? Just those simple acts of dignity where you're raising them up.
And you get back out in the car, first thing you do is what? Look in the mirror. Woohoo! Look at me. Look out, baby, here I come.
America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weekly Law Roundup here on WJBZ Praise 96.3. Having a little bit of a technical difficulty, but struggles in life are what life is all about, because no one has lived a perfect life except for one. That being said, we are here and we have got some fantastic guests. I've got Marti Baker and Gerald Allison, and we're going to be talking about all of the great programs that are going on with CareCuts of Knoxville. So if you didn't know, there's big news happening in Knox Vegas relative to all of the great work that is being done for folks, and particularly the work that's being done by CareCuts. CareCuts has got a new location and the same purpose, and that is serving their fellow man and women and doing it in God's name. And so with that being said, welcome to the show, Marti, Gerald. How are y'all?
Thank you.
Doing great.
Oh man, see, y'all are getting to listen to me and I'm not getting to hear anything because I don't have any headphones, so it's kind of weird not like getting the feedback back relative to it. But you know, I know that you guys have been called and that you are working diligently with the CareCuts program. Marti, just tell my listeners a little bit about what CareCuts is and how did it all get started? Because you're like the foundation, you're the cornerstone, the building block upon which great things were built.
Wow. You know, thank you, Scott. I just tell you all that I do feel now, after 10 years, I feel chosen. We've been doing this for 10 years, and it started with a haircut in 2016. And you say, why a haircut? Because I'm a barber. I've been barbering in Knoxville, Tennessee for 46 years. I was 20.
I was thinking you was about 4 when you started, right? Started on a Barbie doll or whatever?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's just how time flies. But folks, it feels like we just started yesterday because we still got a lot of work to do. We started with just a haircut, and as well as you know, and I know, that you trust your hairdresser, right?
Absolutely. You tell them a little bit of everything. You know, you're sitting there in the chair and they're making conversation and you're making conversation back, and it's kind of like, you know, almost like the confessional, right? You tell them all the good, the bad, and the ugly and things that are going on.
And that's what makes us a little different, is because we get to spend time together. We spend a lot of time with them. It started with a haircut. And then when they got their haircut, they were hungry, and then they wanted clean clothes, and then you needed shoes, and then their bodies were dirty on top of all this stuff we put on. So I prayed to get a shower, for them to have a shower.
Well, you know how it is, right? You know, you get a haircut, you want to be clean with your haircut. You know, that being said, I mean, you know, we see us a lot of times get our hair washed when we get our hair cut, not all the time, but you do want to have sort of that clean feel. You want to feel good. I know that the day that I get my hair cut, it's like, at least the way my barber styles it, you know, that's probably the best it ever looks, because I never quite get it back to that form.
What about that? Well, and you know, when you leave, it gives you your confidence. You might have been feeling, I don't know about you, but I'm sure you have those days too,
Absolutely.
Scott and Gerald. You know, when your hair gets long and down and you go in there and spend time with your barber and you get back out in the car, first thing you do is what? Look in the mirror. Woohoo! Look at me. Look out, baby, here I come.
Well, where did CareCuts, that first haircut, where did it start? I mean, where did you go?
It started in Happy Holler at Knoxville Institute of Hair Design.
Okay.
Because I went to Knoxville Barber College with Jack Rogers.
Okay.
He owned it, and then he passed away, and his son inherited it, Larry Rogers. And I went to Larry, and I said, Larry, I want to cut hair for the homeless. And he said, get out of here, Marti. We deal with them all the time. You know, you went to school here. And I said, well, I just feel like if if we get a bunch of hairdressers together over here on a Sunday, you know, and he said no. Well, about 3 months later, I pulled in at the Pilot right there at Paper Mill North Shore, Kingston Pike and North Shore. And he pulled straight in. Larry owns California Concept. He's a barber. He pulls right in, gets out of his car, puts his hand in his pocket, and gives me the key. He said, I cannot quit thinking about it. And God has laid it on my heart to say yes.
You know, I will tell you this, and I bet Gerald will say the same thing. Meeting Marty, there's not a lot of people that have ever said successfully no to Marty. I mean, they may have said no for a while, but you know what I mean. You know, she just keeps on a knocking. You know, there's not a lot of quit in her, is there, Gerald?
No, she has a lot of enthusiasm to follow her mission and get her way.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing.
If you don't get her, you better be sending her a text, because she will communicate. She'll get back on it and do what needs to be done. So you get given the keys, so to speak, right? You know, he's called upon to give you a key, and you started out. I mean, how do you find your first customer?
I stood up in my church and I said, I want to pray for us, Asbury United Methodist Church. This was in 2015. In 2016, we had the keys. I did a flyer. You're not going to believe this. It's the Holy Spirit. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, there's no way I could do with this. Because they were like, well, when are you going to do it? Sundays. And what time? 9 to 1. It just kept just coming out. And so I went under the bridge and started inviting them. And then I got 2 different flyers. One for the clients. It said, come one, come all, everyone welcome, get a free haircut. And then the other one was, give a hand up, give a haircut. So I started hitting all the hair salons. My husband would drive me around. I'd go in and beauty supplies and all that. So believe it or not, the night before I was like, oh Lord, what if nobody shows? Well, Jeanette Bergen and Valerie Privet and Maxine Raines, which is where I was volunteering under the bridge. That's where I got the heart thing that we got to do more. And Maxine was like, yes, I want to do more too. And so anyway, that's where it started, was right there. Well, honey, here they come. And they were all hungry, and they all pulled up. We didn't know what to do, but we made sandwiches. And so when we made the sandwiches, that's all we had the first. And we were only once a month, because nobody really gets a haircut more than once a month. Honey, it was packed. It was packed. Front, back, we had strings around their neck. My girlfriend said, we got to do better. They look like cattle. Marty, what do you do? And I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going in faith. So when we were at the barber school, we did manicures. We didn't do pedicures. We did hair color, highlights, and haircuts. Yeah, and out back we played bingo and checkers and Jenga and all this stuff, didn't we, Gerald?
Yeah.
So Gerald came on site at the barber school. And so I met him through Jeanette Bergen, and it got hot. It got really hot. And I said, we got to have a tent. We had them.
It has a tendency to do that around Knoxville in the summer.
Yes. So I had called a friend of mine, and I said, look here, I got to have a tent. And he said, well, let me call Terry down at All Occasions. So he called Terry at All Occasions.
Terry Turner.
Yes.
Good man.
Terry Turner. He said, you tell that girl that I'll loan her a tent and not charge her, but she's got to come and get it, take care of it, and bring it back. I was like, okay. So I called Jeanette Bergen, which helped me birth CareCuts, and I call her Mary Poppins. She can get anything done. And I said, what are we going to do? She said, let me call you back. I'm going to call Gerald. Gerald will know what to do. And so I had met Gerald a couple of times at Rio, some kind of business leader thing.
Networking.
I got to speak at. So here comes Gerald in a huge truck with the tent. So I thought, well, this is going to be good. Who's going to put it up? Me and the homeless?
Gerald, did you have a question about what you got yourself into when you pick up this tent? You go down there, because I've seen those tents. They're not. This is not the put up in the backyard kind of small. Well, let's go camping tent. These things are big.
Well, fortunately, I had some employees that they can figure almost anything out, and they came along with me and helped put it up and help. But yeah, I was intrigued by the whole idea of restoring somebody's dignity through a haircut. And I was thinking to myself at the time, and still to this day, I think about sometimes, what if I was dropped off in a town somewhere and didn't have any friends or family and was alone, and I was trying to get a job? What's one of the first things I would want to do?
You know, it makes me think about the washing of someone's feet. You know what I mean? Just those simple acts of dignity where you're raising them up.
Yeah. And if it was me, I would want to get a haircut and be presentable. And there's just something dignified about that, you know. And I've admired it ever since. Of course, I admire Marty and her passion. She is the heartbeat of the organization, and I'm proud years later to be on the board for CareCuts and do what I can do to help with awareness and fundraising and that sort of thing.
Well, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we have got Dan safely in our traffic-free Chapman Highway Studios. We're down here at beautiful Studio 1924 on Middlebrook Pike, a little bit less traveled, but gonna let you know that he's there in the studio. If you need to reach out, 865-577-4885. Again, 865-577-4885. I was remiss in not doing that at the top of the hour, but want to remind you that he's there to take your calls and patch them through. If you want to talk to Marty, Gerald, or myself about what's going on at CareCuts or in general in Knox Vegas, feel free to reach out to us, because we would really genuinely love to hear from you. And if you can't tell, Marty is a little bit shy, so you're going to have to kind of, draw her out of her shell. But I know that she would love to hear from you relative to that. And just kind of learning kind of how CareCuts starts. And so I'm going to challenge Dan or Vance, I assume it's Dan that's in the studio tonight, to see, not necessarily for the bumper music for the first break, but our bumper music for the mid-break or the three-quarter break. Since we're talking about CareCuts, I just couldn't help but think about the George Thorogood song, "Get a Haircut and Get a Real Job."
Oh, I love it.
We'll see
that.
if Dan is very intrepid in locating our bumper music, but I thought it might be apropos for the broadcast here tonight, and kind of makes me smile with regards to that. But again, want to remind you, you can reach out there to them. We've also got the text line available, which is 865-556-7218. Again, 865-556-7218. You can also reach us at the Weekly Law Roundup at gmail.com. Again, the Weekly Law Roundup at gmail.com. Obviously you guys start out with the haircuts, and then you expand the ministry, and we talk about the tent going up and the things of that nature. And so I know that eventually you came down kind of more on the fringe of the old city. Kind of talk about sort of the, if you will, the growth with CareCuts, and what were the steps after the tent?
Well, we were there for 4 months exactly. And Larry Rogers, that gave me the key that day, he wrote me a text that was like an email, and he said, "I'm sorry, but we're selling the business, we're selling the building, the barber school's not doing well, and besides that, you've got a packed house. And we're afraid it's going to fall in." It was from 1960s over there,
right.
The building. And we didn't care, it didn't have no hot water. We were just really jamming. And, I don't know, it was just like this smooth thing that come over me. I said, "I understand." I said, "Could we just at least feed them outside and cut hair outside, out back?" And he said, "Marty, I guess so." So anyway, he said, "Just don't go in," because we were packing them in. It was probably over occupancy, if you know what I mean. So it was about January, February, March, April. It was in April that we started in April. So let's say May, June, and July is when he told me he was selling. Do you know, in August, we landed at 300 West 5th Avenue.
Oh, wow.
Jeremy Wan texted through that messenger. He said, "Look here, I want to do CareCuts." I said, "Well, we're homeless, trying to help the homeless." He said, "Obviously you don't know who I am. I have a 3,000 square foot state-of-the-art salon in downtown Knoxville." So we met him on Sunday, me and Jeanette did, at the brewery there next door, and he gave us the keys. It was just like smooth. And he took us over there, and it was the front part that we sort of left our stuff, but we cut hair in his salon every day for 3 years. And it was beautiful. We packed the parking lot and clothed them out there and fed them outside and just brought them in haircuts. And then we rented the building next door. One of my board members seen it moving out, the record service.
Okay.
So he latched that down from the Claytons, Greg and Scott Clayton.
Had the furniture.
Yes, what wonderful people to allow us to come in there, and we got a 9-year lease. Honey, we were there. We come in there and cleaned up the record service, painted and moved in, you know, but it wasn't, nobody wants, I mean, we had 300 and 500 homeless people there. And you know, they stuck behind us. And so to fast forward, our lease was running out January 2027, and they sent us a letter a year early and said, look, we've got a contract, we're selling, just letting you know, your lease is up, you know, 2027. So we started looking, Scott. I mean, we started looking, everybody was looking, everybody was asking, you know, where we're gonna go, and it's just like, I don't know why I wasn't worried. But I never dreamed we'd wind up on Clinton Highway, because that's where I was born and raised. See, the homeless, when you think about the homeless, you think of downtown Knoxville, and that's where we have been for 10 years. And the homelessness is spread so wide, north, south, east, and west. In the west, you've got the Fig Tree with Cokesbury that does a lot of work and a lot of help. We partner with them. In downtown, you've got multiples, okay? South Knoxville, you've got the Methodist Church over there. East Knoxville, you've got Connect Ministry, you've got Vivian Shipe, you've got Cynthia Finch, One Direction. I mean, they're just something else. But in North Knoxville, there was nothing. And you know, I didn't plan this, Scott. I was driving out Clinton Highway and saw on this sign for lease. So we called, and I had no idea that we would wind up with this building.
It's kind of weird, kind of the way things have just kind of fell in place. He has at times just continued to open doors, right? And I mean, you know, you've always had faith and confidence, and that's what you've got to need. I mean, you've you know, always believed, right?
He really has. And people are, when you talk about God, you know, you're like, well, how do you know? Well, you know. You feel it's in your gut, it's in your heart, it's in your mind. And so the way I say CareCuts operates is, number one, is Jesus first. We want to share the love of Jesus. We can't save nobody, only He can, right? So we just love them. Number two is that mailbox. Oh, did that mailbox made a difference. So fast forward with doing all the hope and dignity and the haircut and the clothes and the hygiene and all that, I was like, Kathy, why are you still here? And she said, well, Miss Marty, I can't read. Well, I said, we got glasses, you know, we get you some read. No, can't read. I said, well, I can read a little bit. Let's get you an application. Do you draw a check? And she said, yes. And so we filled out that application. I didn't know what I was doing, Scott. And do you know, we turned it in up there at Summit Towers. She got an apartment in 3 weeks.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I called Lori Tucker. I said, Lori Tucker, can you believe this? There's a video on our website. So little by little, I've learned, and I share everything I learn with all my volunteers, any of our board members. I just want you to know how hard it can be for somebody that don't have an ID, a birth certificate, and a social security card. They have to have all three. And you have to have all three present. So we get a call, Joe, Kathy got housing, right? Well, thank God she was born in Tennessee. We run over and got one. But if she would have been born out of town, that would have been a different story. Okay? You got to wait on that out-of-town birth certificate. So, and then to get a social security card, we used to be able to just go down there that day and they would give you a piece of paper and that would count to sign up for HUD housing or KCDC. But now you have to have an appointment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, Gerald, tell me about how you got involved in all this. You know, I know about the tent deal, but how does Gerald get to be, because it looks like you were there pretty early on.
Yeah, and then over the years we volunteered a few times, and I've just, like I said, I've always been impressed with Marty's mission, and it's been a change and a learning experience for me. You know, I think
Oh, yeah.
me, like a lot of people, when I used to see the homeless, I felt like, well, there's government agencies that take care of them, or they're there because they want to be. And I've become educated that there's a whole lot going on with mental health and addiction and different things that play into it. And one of the things I've been most impressed with is it's not just feeding them and cutting their hair and giving them clothes, but it's also a resource. It's a resource center giving them a hand up to change their life. You know, to go from homelessness to being housed, to being able to get a job, you know, having their ID. And it is just success story after success story that people don't have to stay where they're at. And if we don't help, who will?
Well, and I always think about, you know, I mean, you can't change anything that happened yesterday, but you can change how the rest of today and tomorrow turns out.
Yeah,
And,
very
you
good.
know, having somebody love you, just like what Marty says, as far as always loving people, I mean, that makes just a huge difference. I mean, that care, like somebody cares about me enough that they want my hair cut. They want to make sure that I'm clean. They want to make sure that I'm fed and taken care of and that my soul is nourished, right?
Yes. And a lot of people said at first, they were like, well, what if they come back? And I'm like, well, I hope they do, until we get all their needs met, you know, to get them into housing. And then once they get into housing, I would go up there with them, you know, and sign their lease, and you'd walk in and there was an empty apartment, just like if we were renting one. And I'm like, well, what are we going to do? Where are we going to get the chair? Where are we going to get the love seat? Where are we going to get the bed? And so there are ministries that give furniture, but they don't haul it. So we got in the hauling business. Oh yeah, we've done it all. CareCuts has done it all, still continues to do it all. We reach out to the community because I have found that if you, on this Facebook is how I do it, I'll just pray about it and give all the glory to God. And He moves in mysterious ways. And people, you know, that show up, it just blows your mind. They're like, I want to help. I can't be there, but I'll give you the money. They're ordering a bed in a box, and it's.
Well, we can have Amazon delivered. It'll be here.
I know it.
I mean, Jeff Bezos taking care of us.
Yeah, and it's, you know, vacuum packed, and it just flops out. And then now, instead of a box springs, you've got a, they call it something else. It's just a metal thing with, it's like a rack or something they call it. And so we're able to reach out now, because we got in the furniture business once, and Tim Hill didn't care for that very much. We were storing stuff in his building. And so we just tried to do it all. Some things we cannot do, but essentials we have to do. We have to do it because that's what we're called to do as a community. You know, I can't do what you do, Scott. I can't do what Gerald does. You all can't do what I do. But I love to be able to do what I do. Now, I will tell you one thing that really irritates me is people will say, well, you're going to get burnt out. And I was like, well, how can you get burnt out working for the Lord? Okay? So 10 years, we're into 11 now. I'm as passionate today as I was the first day we started. And that is my testimony, folks. I want you to know that I never dreamed to be a leader. I didn't think I was chosen until that 10-year mark. I was like, wow, has it been 10 years and I'm still on fire to help the homeless and the less fortunate? So now that we're at 5200 Clinton Highway, guess what we're meeting?
What are we meeting?
People living in their car.
Really?
Yes, sir. And they show up later. See, when we were at downtown, they'd show up right at 7:30. We couldn't beat them there because they were coming from Carm and, you know, the shelter. So now that we're over there, we get the campers, people in their car, and people from the apartments. Miss Marty, can I talk to you in private? And I said, yes, ma'am, come on in. She said, I didn't know how to ask this, but do you have any toilet paper? I said, yeah, honey, where do you live? And she said, we got a, you know, it's called affordable housing over here on Merchants Road. She said, but we don't have any cleaning stuff. I can't clean my apartment. We've paid our rent, and we've done that. So now we're asking for buckets. mop buckets and a mop and a broom and clean all in one bucket. And so I'm starting to do that now. And so when they come and ask me for cleaning stuff over in the closet, we're going to have 2 or 3 stored and just say, here, honey, take this home and clean your apartment.
It's fantastic. Well, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, this is what this is all about, and this is what CareCuts is about. Really enjoying our conversation. Also wanting to let you know that we've now got a Weekly Law Roundup YouTube channel, so you can actually catch all of these shows cached on those. So you can go back and watch them. We're also live on Facebook. So that being said, I've always been told that I have a face for radio, and you can jump on the Weekly Law Roundup, give us a follow, and we'll be glad to come at you each and every week. We're here each and every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. We've now been doing it. Our initial broadcast was January of 2016, so we're 10 and a half years. I mean, we kind of got something in common there from that, and so, it's kind of cool. First broadcast in Studio 1924 was 5 years ago, back in May of 21. So I was looking up at some of my stuff on the walls there. So kind of neat and experience, and it's been a learning curve as we've gone and had sort of such great guests and everything of that nature. But what else would you guys like to talk about?
Well, something I'd be interested in knowing is how you got involved with CareCuts and how that started, and what's your story?
Well, I tell you, I've got a good friend. He is a member of the law department downtown, and Myers Morton, and just a prince of a fella. And I had seen him around the courthouse and litigated with him and known him and had a lot of respect for him. And he mentioned things that were going on down at the Fifth Avenue location. And he said, why don't you come down there? And I said, well, a lot of times on Sunday morning I'm at church. And he said, well, this is what I do, my church, and I minister to people there, and I like to give, and this is what I find rewarding. Why don't you come down? And myself and our esteemed chancellor, Chris Haggerty.
Yes.
He had said something to Chris as well, and we came down there, and I tell you, once you go down there and you have that experience, it's fulfilling. And Gerald, I really enjoyed it in that I felt like I did something positive, and I do enjoy going to church, but I also felt like, for lack of a better term, it was an active ministry instead of talking about ministry. And
hands and feet of Jesus.
Saw these folks and were there, and it was a unique collection of individuals, but every single one of them, I kept thinking to myself, they're one of God's children. And you look and you deal with it, and we're not all homogenous. We're not all created alike. We're not exactly alike, but yet we somehow kind of all circulate around and make this big world go around. But that's how I got there. I mean, Myers got me there, and once Marty sees you and you get involved, Marty is she is a go-getter, and I am blessed, as is Myers, albeit because he works for the law department, there's limitations on what he can do legally in private practice. We have a law firm here, and we are in the Mechanicsville area, and not too far, actually, realistically, if someone wanted to, walking distance from where you guys were on Fifth Avenue, and just felt like, needed to be involved in the community. And we got involved and have enjoyed it and been blessed, and then got asked to be on the board, and have done the best I can. Had my baby girl go visit on the board, who's practicing law with us, and it is quite a rewarding experience.
It is. Well, I do have to thank T. Scott and Jones. He's done many favors for us, pro bono, and I know he can't do that for everybody. But there was one particular girl that I got, and she was hopeless and helpless, and she completed her time in jail at the Oxford House, and she came to CareCuts with all these girls to bring them to get the help that she got from CareCuts. And she kept coming. And one day I looked at her and I said, let's just say Sue. I said, Sue, I said, you're exhausted, honey. What are you doing? Well, I'm the house manager now and I've got to do this. I said, well, you need to do something and turn your notice in. I said, let's get you another place to go. So we did. So then we figured out she couldn't drive, okay? So she worked and paid as much as she could. And we got her a meeting with T. Scott Jones. She had some tickets that were not in Knox County, that she could not do volunteer work, that we partner with Mike Hammond's office. It's called the Second Chance. And they get volunteer hours and they help them with their fees and fines so they can move forward. And I'm thankful and grateful for that. And so I reach out to Mike Hammond and his team. So Scott Jones just happened to be in that county. Yeah, we sent him an email. He met with her in person. Thank you, Scott.
That was a privilege to do it. She's a fine lady, and just one of those things where you just do what you need to do.
Well, Sue has a full-time job. She's living in Farragut, and she has her own condo that she's renting, and she's got her driver's license, got her own car. It's just such a wonderful success story. Maybe one day that we can do that story, and she would be proud to tell who she is.
That's fantastic. And it's one of those things where things sometimes that we do, right, that are what we may consider inconsequential, they make a world of difference in people's lives, right?
A world of difference, because she said nobody cares. And I said, well, I do. And I got some friends that will. As long as you do your part. So there's 3 things that is my motto. Go by the rules, do your part, and stay in your lane. And they're like, what does that mean? I said, well, you go by the rules, okay? And you go by and stay in your lane and do your part. So staying in your lane, if you're driving a car down the interstate and you move over to the other lane and there's a car, what are you going to do? You're going to wreck, you're going to hurt your car, their car, maybe kill somebody. So that's even in life. If you're walking down the road, walking down the sidewalk, in the store, stay in your lane. And they're like, oh, okay. And it works. I do that with my counseling with the homeless and less fortunate. And so I want to move on to talk about veterans. They're number one.
Well, let's talk about veterans.
Yes, sir. So ever since I've been with CareCuts, we just couldn't seem to get the veterans to come out to them, okay? So I have went and learned that also. So recently, we met this little guy. We'll call him Ed. And so Ed was a small fellow and had a little dog. And I said, Ed, and so he had his DD-214s. He had everything, okay? Well, they robbed him downtown and knocked him over, elbow all blowed out. We get that fixed. And so that evening, when we closed, I said, where are you going? He said, well, we're going to stay up here in these woods, so we'll be close here to CareCuts when you're open. We can get some food and I can keep working on myself because I got to reorder my birth certificate and everything. So, oh, Lordy, when we locked up, I went around the block, turned around and come back, and I pulled up right where I saw him go in at. He said, hey, Miss Marty. I said, hey, honey. He said, what are you doing? I said, get in. So he got in my car. And he said, where are we going? I said, I really don't know. So between Merchants Road and Cedar Lane, God just laid it out. You're going to pull right in over here, and you're going to go in here, and you're going to rent this man a motel. We don't do motels. We don't have money for motels. So I did it for a week, and it was like $600. So I get on the Facebook, and I said, look, this is what's going on. Bam, somebody donated. So we kept him there for 1 week. We kept him there for 2 months, and we still could not get that birth certificate from Pennsylvania because he didn't have an ID. So then they sent my ID, because I'm the founder of CareCuts, with an affidavit. Listen, you wouldn't believe some stuff we go through. So we got it, and now he's got 45 days to get his hard copy before they'll let him sign his lease. He has an apartment, but you got to have all them documents, and it's not their fault. It's just the way it is. It's go by the rules, okay? We can't pull no favors there, that's for sure. People might lose their job if they let him sign his lease. So it blows my mind that people cannot move forward. Now, if I had not have took him yesterday myself to the Veterans Association, he signed up for those benefits. took him to the state ID with the birth certificate and affidavit, and he did walk out of there with a paper ID.
That's fabulous.
So we're on the way with Ed, and we're hoping that he gets his very own housing soon.
Well, I certainly hope so, and I mean, especially with the veteran status and everything that you're doing there.
19 years, Scott.
19 years. Well, tell me this, right? You've shared some wonderful success stories. I mean, there has to be a few that you can just point to, and those are the ones that I know you said you got as much energy now as you had when you started it. I mean, do those reinvigorate you? And I mean, you love seeing folks, pick themselves up and, go forth and go forward?
Well, especially on Sundays when we cut hair, when we leave there and they come up and they say, Miss Marty, thank you, I don't look homeless anymore. We've done our job. It's not Marti Baker, it's the whole team. I look at CareCuts like a jigsaw puzzle. I might be the center, okay? God put me in the center of this group. But without each piece, you don't get a picture. And you have to have a complete picture to make progress and to make a difference. If you're missing this side, it's not going to work. So we have people with the same hearts that come, like you, Gerald, that joins me by my side. And, we just go. We just go. And we have Bible study on Fridays, and we have church on Sunday, and it's packed. See, they're not only needing to be fed physically, they're wanting to be fed spiritually, and they don't really have a church to go to. So I'm talking to you right now. If you would like to teach Bible study, let us know. If you would like to, if you're a pastor and you want to come on and learn more, just go to CareCutsKnoxville.org. If you're a group and you would like to cook food and serve them on Sunday, or cook on Saturday and bring it, and we'll warm it up and whatever. We're looking for cooked casseroles right now because we like to give them vegetables. We do not give them junk, okay? We don't. We want to feed their bodies. We only do Gatorade, water, and coffee and milk. No Pops, no Cokes at my place because we are at our place. It's not mine. But do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Their bodies are depleted.
You're getting some comments up here.
So,
Bill Phillips, such a wonderful lady, talking about you.
Oh, my goodness.
David Wasden, Marty is a very compassionate lady. She is such a blessing to many. Amen.
He's a pastor.
Amen, Marty. He is. He is a good friend of mine, owns Real Deal Remodeling, and just a prince of a guy. And they don't come any harder working than David Wasden. I mean, he literally, he gets up in the morning. If John Henry was born with a hammer in his hand, David Wasden was born with a saw and a hammer and one and the other. But he's a good fella. That being said, I'm going to let Marty and Gerald tell you about a fundraiser that we've got coming up on August 28th, 2026.
Take it away, Gerald.
Yes, it's our third annual CareCuts golf tournament, and we're really excited about it. It's one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. It's a good time, and it's a great opportunity for people to donate money for a good cause. It's on August the 28th. It's a Friday, and at Aguani Farms, and you can go to CareCutsKnoxville.org. There's a sign up there. We're looking for corporate sponsors. Where you can get some recognition and also teams and players, and we'll have a good time for a good cause.
Well, I tell you what, one of the things, and I almost let time slip away, we were talking here before we started and talking about Gerald's melodious voice and his ability to carry a tune, so to speak. Well, God did not bless me with the ability to sing, nor did He bless me with the knowledge to know that I can't sing. So anytime that I see somebody that can sing and actually make a nice, joyful noise, I want to give them that opportunity. So, Gerald, why don't you share something with us that you feel like would move our listeners?
Yeah, we're coming up on the 250th birthday. I believe I'll sing a little patriotic song.
Sounds like a winner.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Amen.
That was outstanding. I mean, that is just a booming. There you go. David's offering to come down and spread the word of God one Sunday, and I'm sure we would love to have you there, Brother Wasden.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's on fire.
He is. He is a motivated individual. Well, I tell you what, now you're out there and you're in the new location. Describe the new location. Describe kind of what the long-term plan is, so to speak, out there, because I know that, it's all systems go now.
We are a welcome resource center. Not really just welcome homeless resource center. It's a welcome resource center. And that means everybody's welcome. And it's first come, first served. You stand in line, everybody stands in line. I don't make no exceptions. We have some battered women shelters that that's the only thing we make exceptions for, except for, our veterans. If there's a veterans in line, he goes first. My daddy was served in the Air Force. I'm married to a Marine, and they fought for our freedom, so they go first in my book. So we just know that in your mind, that we are a welcome resource center on Clinton Highway, 5200 Clinton Highway, and we give away everything that's brought to us. We've never sold anything. We do not give out tents. I'm so sorry. Yes, I said that. 10 years I've never given a tent. You don't do it. If you give them a tent, it sets them back further, okay? And then they get in that tent like, oh, I got a little home. No, that ain't a home, okay? And then there's a lot of bad news that goes on in these tents. And so what do you say, Gerald?
Well, why don't you share with everybody, too, now that we have a brick and mortar building, some of the other organizations that we're volunteers and help that we're able to house in that building?
Oh, yes. So today we had the Samaritan Place, which checks for HIV and all this. And we have RAM, that's our partner, that's got their mobile unit there all the time. So anybody in the area is welcome to come and get free medical. You've got some people that work Monday through Friday. They can't get to the doctor, but you can see the doctor at CareCuts Ministry at 5200 Clinton Highway. We have Knox County Health Department that partners with us. We have, I don't want to leave anybody out. We have so many people. Oh, Helen Ross McNabb comes every other Friday. Kenneth Miller and Associates sent Dana today. They were close to us downtown. She's going to come once a month. She helped 3 people today with disability just to get on the phone and set them up another phone interview. Let's see who we have many churches that come. And so we do look for volunteers and sponsors. If you're not tithing somewhere and you'd like to tithe to CareCuts, just go to CareCutsKnox.org, click donate, and then click comment. Click comment of where you want your money to go, whether it's to feed or for operations like for rent and light bill. It's just I can't. And VMC, their caseworker came over today and said, "Hey, Miss Marty, how can we get our clients these government phones?" So we hooked her up. And so, we want to help everybody. Salvation Army, they come over. Samaritan Place, the Catholics, they bring them over. We get their IDs, birth certificates, and all that. We are a resource center. Everything from a Q-tip to a pair of reading glasses.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about that was important, that I was impressed with, the fact that for a lot of the folks that are out there on the street, they don't have a place to get mail. And so if you create that resource where you can take that, talk a little bit about that and how important that is, because, we don't just send stuff Knoxville, Tennessee general delivery. That never gets to anybody.
So if you're born in Tennessee, we give them a voucher that we pay for, CareCuts. That's why we need monetary donations. And those are $16 a pop. And so we do several a week. And so we give them a piece of paper and they go to the health department and they walk out with it. If they've got an ID, we gotta get the ID anyway. But if we get one like, say for Pennsylvania, like for the veteran, it's $62. Okay? But when it comes, this is what they do. They'll open it up and they'll say, look, Miss Marty, I'm somebody. They forget who they are. And then I get the opportunity to say, well, what are you going to do? Who do you want to be? Which way you're going to go? You can't go forward and reverse. But let me get a copy of this birth certificate while I've got you here. Or let us put your original in the file. There's that trust that started with a haircut and that goes into Jesus, really trusting you with their belongings. So we have a file on every client that really wants to move forward. Once they get all three of those documents, bingo. Then we get to apply for housing or get them into recovery.
You know, when we look at this and folks are out there listening, and if they want to volunteer, how do they volunteer? What time do they come on Sundays or what days of the week? And how do they minister and do with you?
Well, you can go to CareCutsKnoxville.org and just click volunteer. And there's a sign up genius right there. And then you also get our email address that we can say, hey, it's just me, or hey, I've got a group of 6. You know, we want to know who you are and how we can help you. Because when you come there, we want you to be able to be the hands and feet and ears and eyes of Jesus. We don't want you to come there and just do nothing. And nobody wants to if you're going to spend your Sunday with us.
What time do y'all start things off on Sunday now at Clinton Highway?
Volunteers need to be there at 8:30. And we're over at 1-ish. Okay? And it's hard just to come for an hour or two, you know, just come and stay. It just really works better that way. If there's, we have sometimes some hair cutters will come and maybe cut hair for 2 hours. That's fine. They can do 3 or 4 haircuts, and that's wonderful. And so if you're a hair cutter, you do not have to be licensed to cut hair at CareCuts per the state Tennessee board because it's free. So we have a lot of...
I'm not going to volunteer to cut anybody's hair. That'd be like CareCuts getting sued because T. Scott butchered the hair. I just
T.
need...
Scott's going to cut hair.
That's, right. We're going to have bowls, and we're just going to put the bowl, and we'll just cut around the thing, you know?
Anybody want a buzz cut?
Yeah.
You know, Mayor Jacobs had... the strongest man in the world, Henry, whatever, yeah, he's on our Facebook. It's way back there in 2018, and he came and brought a bunch of hairdressers. So let's just listen, hairdressers, come on, we need you.
How many folks do you have actually coming and doing the haircut?
Well, Tennessee School of Beauty comes at one time, and we usually have about 30 haircuts going on.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we've got on your average Sunday. Last Sunday we had only 4 people, but that was 4 people. You know, Jesus fed the people with what? How many loaves of bread? 2 fish
5
and
loaves of
bread.
5 loaves of bread. So that's how we approach it. We don't worry about nothing. I've got a girl that came in there and she said, well, she didn't come out and she was going to. I said, no, but you did.
That's good.
Huh?
Hey, I'm glad.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it takes, right? It's just believing, right? You know? So we'll maybe challenge Dan one last time. We're not quite done with the show, but, you know, we'll have to have him roll us out with Don't Stop Believing. So
I love that.
Because Dan the man will find it. I know that he will, because he has got the, you know, challenge met with the get a haircut and get a real job on that. So also these donations, right? CareCuts is a 501c3, right?
Yes, sir.
So folks can get a tax deduction for donating, correct?
Yes.
And with the portals, they can donate in all the different monetary forms that they want, right?
Yes, we're looking for somebody to do a little stucco work on our building. If they want to come over and I'll show it to them. It's not a big job, but need somebody, some contractor out there that's listening. We need a little stucco work just on our underhang. You know, Gerald, I have to brag on Gerald. Gerald has Rocky Top Heating and Air. Tell him, Gerald. He's helped us so much.
Well, we did put air conditioning in the new location, and we do what we can.
Well, your company has brought and come and served and did hamburgers.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
Yeah, we volunteered several times over the years and stayed involved, and sometimes people want to volunteer and they just don't know what to do. And this is a good outlet for a good cause, and it's one of those organizations that almost 100% goes directly to the cause.
It always makes you feel good when you see that happening, and then
Yeah.
you see, what you're bringing to bear is actually going to those that are in need.
Yeah.
And Marty wouldn't have it any other way.
No. And so, Gerald, I want you to challenge all these businesses out here to email us and come. Come as a
Yeah.
group, come as a company.
Yeah, get involved. You'd be surprised at how many people in your company would love to volunteer, and the blessing that they would get being a blessing to others. It's a great opportunity.
And Saturdays is donation day, 9 to 1, 5200 Clinton Hall. You pull up and we unload you, and we always ask for the 3 B's: blue jeans, backpacks, and belts. So when you ask for a belt, what does that tell you, T. Scott Jones?
You got to have something to hold your pants up, I guess.
But it's probably, what, 50 and up? See, these young people don't wear belts. Very few.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of our age. I'm 64, I'll be 65 in November. But what I found in this new location is a lot of people is my age. From 50 to 80. We got two 80-year-olds into Samaritan Place since we've been there in a month and a half.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes,
Well, I'll
sir.
tell you what, we're getting ready to wrap up our hour with Marty and Gerald. Want to thank them both for coming. Remind you guys to support CareCuts and the great ministries that they are doing throughout East Tennessee. Also, to remind you that we're here on the Weekly Law Roundup each and every Tuesday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. on WJBZ Praise 96.3. And Dan, if you'll take us away.
God bless America.
We need corporate donations, monthly tithing. That's what I tell them. Tithe with us, baby.
All right. Well, I tell you what, not roll tide, but roll tide. So we need to get some money rolling in here to CareCuts.
Light from above.